Well, hey everyone, I'm Ryan Russo, an account director here at SUMO Scheduler, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the fourth webinar hosted by our team. Today we have an exciting session lined up where we'll be taking a deep dive into SUMO's event and course scheduler solution. I'm joined today by Angela McKnight, our customer success director, and she'll be leading us through the creation of an event scheduler process while highlighting the incredible features available to customize SUMO's events platform to your team's needs. For those of you who aren't familiar, SUMO Scheduler is a Salesforce native appointment and event scheduling platform that takes the headache out of booking meetings and scheduling events. In doing so, this enables companies to focus on developing customer relationships that drive growth while getting some extra time back in your day. By the end of today's webinar, you'll have an excellent understanding of our event scheduler offering, which includes use cases you might already be leveraging or want to begin exploring. You'll learn how to build your very own customized processes and explore a multitude of advanced features available to enhance your processes. And last but not least, you'll have an opportunity to engage with our SUMO support team directly for Q&A. Speaking of which, we'll be using our chat functionality within the Zoom meeting to address any questions that you may have with a bit of help from our team. Please feel free to ask questions at any time, and we'll do our best to answer each one as they come in. If we can't get to your question immediately, we'll post a Q&A along with the webinar recording after the session. So overall, SUMO Scheduler is a powerful and user-friendly event scheduling platform that can help businesses and organizations of all sizes to streamline their scheduling processes and improve their efficiency. Once you've created an event, you can share it with your customers directly, post it to your website, or share it to social media, allowing your attendees to register with ease. We also know that events can take on many different forms or use cases, and SUMO aligns with a variety of approaches here. Our event and course suite enables you to easily create and launch an online event registration site for a single event taking place in person or virtually. You can also include registration for recurring events, like a weekly product training or a webinar series. And your online event registration site can also allow attendees to register for classes or courses which require attendance to multiple sessions. Even better are the many ways you can really customize your processes, putting controls and options in place to enhance the overall experience for both you and for your customers. All right, Angela, let's get into the fun part and show everyone here how to start building their own event scheduler processes.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do, Ryan, is navigate to the SUMO admin settings, and I am here in the SUMO admin settings now, and I'm going to go ahead and go to event scheduler templates. So from this screen, I can create new, I can edit, delete, or clone an existing process. For this demo today, I'm going to go ahead and edit this existing process that I already have created. Okay, so on the very first tab, the global tab, here you give your event scheduler a name. This isn't something that's customer facing. It's just something so you know exactly what process is controlling those events. Your force.com site is always going to be SUMO Scheduler. And for those of you who have been around for a little while, it may be called Invite Manager. And then your labels, you always have the ability to change any of the labels throughout any of this process. So this one here for the global setting is something that is customer facing. So if you wanted it to say webinar registration or just event registration, you can go ahead and change that there. And then create, edit, event page. This is, you can hide the event registration site settings on the create event page. So when I pop open the multi-calendar a little bit later on, I'll show you this. And this is controlling the advance notice to book and the advance notice to cancel that you'll see on that page. But this is where it's controlled if you wanted to hide that. Your online registration type, are you going to be scheduling with leads, contacts, or person accounts? And then your matching. So if I was to do contacts, I would get the matching options. And then my branding. So your logo and your background image, your colors and your fonts, any custom CSS for overrides. If you wanted to add some custom fields to your event edit page or your event view page, you can do regular event fields or SUMO additional info fields. If you wanted to allow your attendees to decline their attendance from the email, they'll get an email that says, you know, they registered for an event and they would have the ability to decline their attendance by clicking on a link. This will enable it or disable that feature for your attendees. your blacklist. So if you have somebody that's registering for events and you don't want them to be able to do that anymore, maybe they're spamming you, you could add their email address here or their domain, and then they would receive this custom error message when they went to go register. Also, if you wanted to encrypt your URL, is down here in other settings. Then I'm going to go ahead and scroll back up to the top. My where tab is going to control what locations are available for this event scheduler process. So I can easily add or remove these different locations by just clicking these and then clicking the arrows. If I scroll down a little bit, I have some additional labels that I can change to meet my business needs. Then my room search criteria, my room search column headers, my resource search and resource search column headers. When I pop open to create an event, I'll show you where that search button lives. But it's going to be the same for the user search or the room or resource search. This is what's controlling, what fields are showing in the column headers and then the filters that you have available. Scroll back up and going to go ahead and go to the skill tab. So the skills work very similar to our SUMO services and skills. This is kind of a way to say, this specific person is allowed to host an event with this specific skill. If I wanted to create a new skill, I would navigate to the SUMO services and skills and go ahead and click host skill when it asked me which one I wanted to create. And then it would be available when I clicked find an existing. I can just check it there and then add it to my process there. This is something that's optional. Unlike our appointments where services are required, skills are optional and something additional that you can utilize. The host, so this is going to be what users are going to be able to attend or host these specific events. I can do this by users, profiles, or groups. And again, I can easily move these hosts back and forth by just clicking these buttons here. My host search criteria, my host search column headers. And like I said, I'll show you that once we pop open the event scheduler from the multi-calendar, and I'll show you the host search criteria. And then my co-host setting, if I wanted to enable co-host, or if I wanted to enable no host for my events.
Angel, real quick, why would someone need to use the no host option?
Yeah, great question, Ryan. So say that I'm creating events for, maybe a year down the road, and I'm not quite sure who's going to be available to host that specific event right now, but I want to get those events created and on the calendar so people can start registering for them. I can create no host, and then once it gets closer to the time of that specific event, I can add that host there myself when I know who's going to be available for that specific event.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great for planning purposes. Love it.
Then my category tab. So right here, I can add different categories to categorize my events. Again, this is something that's optional for you to use. It's not required. You can activate or deactivate. You can create a new category directly from here, or you can find an existing category. So if I just click create new, you can give it a name and a label, choose the color as it would appear on the multi-calendar, add a description, and then assign the template to users, profiles, or groups for that specific category. Right here, I can move my categories so they show and don't show. I can rearrange the way that they're being displayed. I can assign a default category, and here's another one of those labels that I can choose to change to meet my business needs. Go ahead and go up to the event type. So right here, this again is something that's optional for you to use, but what event types are going to do is it's going to kind of pre-populate some information based on the event that you're creating. So you'll see that I have one here, but if I want to go ahead and create a new one, I can give it a name and then a category, and maybe I want to create the events, but I don't want to have to fill out the location every time. I can fill in the location, and then every time I went to create an event and use this event type, this information would pre-populate for me. Same thing, I can do duration or, the host skills or resources. I can create as many event types as I want to make creating events for somebody maybe a little bit easier. But again, something that's optional and not required. My when tab, I can go ahead and change these labels. This is when the customer goes to see the event. This is going to give that when information to them. your time zone settings, and then you can define a default time zone as well. My event detail. So this, when the customer clicks on the event registration, they'll see all of this information on that page. So any description that I've created, the date and the time for the event, and I can change this. So if I wanted it to say information instead of description, I can do that as well. My register. So this is where I'm going to collect the information from the leader contact that might be registering for my event. Here I can add additional fields. I can put in a different label. So maybe internally I call the field something, but for customer facing, I want it to be named something different. I can do that. I can make it required or not required. I can hide it. So if I wanted to put in like a default value, like I did for lead status here, I can hide it and put in a default value. I can also add help text. So maybe if the field is a little questionable, I can add some help text here so the customer knows exactly what information I want populated into that field. Payments. So within SUMO, we have a Stripe connector. You can accept payments through Stripe. You can choose to not collect payments through Stripe, or collect payments using your own payment connector. And right over here is where you would find the payment connector to set that connection up with Stripe. My notifications. So this first one here is my email reminder. When do I want my email reminder to go out for this specific event or events created with this template? And then my attendee email templates. So what templates do I want to go out to my customers? And then these are your host email templates. So this first group is if your host calendar connection is Google or Outlook. And then this bottom section is if the host calendar connection is Salesforce. These email templates are housed in classic email templates and can be customized to meet your needs. You can change the header, the footer, or any of the fields that are inside of the template. The You're Booked. So this is the information that the customer is going to see on that confirmation page once they book their event. So again, you can change any of those labels as you want, and then you can turn on or off the Add to Google, Add to Outlook, or the Print button. My Decline tab. So if I'm going to give the customers the ability to decline their attendance, this is the information that would pop up when they decline the attendance. And events, here I have this more option where I'm going to see the multi-calendar and the attendee. So multi-calendar, this first one here is going to control the filters that I see on top of the multi-calendar. And then my hover over for events and my hover over for course. So I can add additional fields here from the event or the SUMO additional info, and I can have a total of 13 exposed fields. My attendee. So within SUMO events, I can send the link out to customers where they can self-register for the events. Optionally, I can also add attendees internally myself. So if I'm adding them internally myself, maybe I want to capture some additional information when those attendees are being added to the event. Here I can add some additional fields that someone would fill out when they're adding that attendee. And I'll show you exactly what this looks like and exactly where you would do this once I pop open the multi-calendar. And then your attendee list view columns, you can control that as well. So once I'm all done with this process, I would go ahead and click save up here in this corner, and then I'm ready to go create my event. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the SUMO multi-calendar. And from the multi-calendar, I can click on these white spaces and create an event like that, or I can click create and click an event or a course. So with SUMO events and courses, we have the difference between the events and course. So an event, although it can be recurring, when someone registers for this event, it's only going to register for them for that one event. A course you would set up if the event is going to last maybe a couple of different events, but the person needs to attend every event in that series. You would create a course, and then when they registered for that specific event, it would register them for the whole series. For this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and create an event. And right here, I can free type in here, or I can choose one of my predefined event types. And you'll see it's going to refresh and then fill in some of that information that I had pre-populated. So it filled in my category and then that color. And then I can add a description here. I can choose my event location, or I can make a virtual event. Right here is where my room search and my resource search is. So if I was to pop that up, I can control the fields right there in the SUMO admin settings that I showed you earlier. And then you can use room and resource search. Also, here's your host search. I can set a capacity for this event. So maybe this room or this location can only handle 50 people registering for this event. I can set a capacity here, and that way when it gets full, it won't allow anybody else to register for this specific event. I can add a host skill. Right here, I have my event host, and then I can add a co-host. Because I have no host enabled, I can also delete this out, and it would let me create the event with no host. Right here, I can create a recurring event. I can set the duration for the event. You can change the durations with a pick list. So you can just go in there and add different values there if these don't meet your needs. I can do anytime availability, which would allow me to book outside of my host's availability. I can overlap appointments or events. I can choose to not overlap appointments or events. Then I would come down here and choose my date, and then I choose my time for my event. And then these are those online registration site settings that I showed you in that global, in the global tab in the SUMO admin settings. You have the ability to hide this whole section down here. So whoever's creating your events wouldn't have the ability to change these. But right here, I have my maximum advance time to register. I can set this here to 30 days, or I can do minutes, hours, weeks, or months. I can do the minimum advance time to register or the minimum advance time to cancel. I can set max seats, which would allow someone to maybe book 2 or 3 seats at a time instead of just the one. I can keep it a free event. I can do pay it online registration or pay it event entry. And then I can, if it's going to be a paid event, I can set the price. And then something new that we added within the last couple releases of SUMO is the max registration per attendee. So I can set this here, and it would only allow the attendee to register for however many events or however many that I set this to. And then they would see this policy here that I could save. And then when I'm all done, I have the ability to save the event or save and publish. So the difference between save and publish is if I save this event, it's going to make this event available. I can put it in my website. I can mass email it out, and people will be able to register for this event. If I save and publish, then it's going to be available for people to register and available if it meets the criteria to be added to one of my dynamic links. And I will show you what a dynamic link is and kind of show you the difference between a dynamic link and a static link in just a few minutes. But if you save and publish and it meets the criteria for an already created event link, then it's automatically going to add to that event link for you. So I'm going to go ahead and save and publish. This is going to go ahead and create my event. And then once I have the event here, I can hover over, I can see these details, I can click on this link, I can send this link out in mass email. I also can come here and see any attendees that have already registered for this event. And I can also click new and add an attendee here. So this is where I showed you in the SUMO admin settings in the attendee tab. You can add additional fields here, but I could go ahead and choose to add this person and then their one seat, and click save, and that person's going to get an email and let them know that they've been registered for this specific event. Okay, so the event registration, this is what it looks like from the customer's experience. So right here, they have the information about the specific event, and then they go ahead and click on next. And then they get the ability to enter in their information. And then they go ahead and click register now, and then they're registered for that event. So I would be able to see this person in my attendees list. They're going to get an email, they're going to get ICS files, and they'll know when they registered for this specific event. So October the 23rd from 10 to 11. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one. October the 23rd. From 10 to 11. So now if I click on attendees here, you'll see Angela has been registered for that specific event. Okay. So if I wanted to go ahead and create an event link, I could come up here and I could search for SUMO event links, and then I would go and create a new event link. You'll see that I already have some created here, but I can go ahead and click on new, and create a static link or a dynamic link. So the difference between a static link and a dynamic link is a static link is going to be the events that I put in this link. It's only going to be those events unless I change that link. And then I have a dynamic link that I can create. And if I wanted to house a link on my website or on my social media or anything like that, I don't want to have to go and change that link every single week. I want it to kind of be alive and live with all the events that I've created. So I can go ahead and give it a name, and then I put my filter criteria here. And then once I have my criteria set, it's going to give me all the events that meet that criteria. All these events here that I have. And then every time a new event is created that meets the criteria where save and published was used, it's automatically going to add to this event link here. So that's the different event links that you can create. So you don't have to just have this one and then update it on your website week over week. You can have that dynamic link work for you. Okay, Ryan, back to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Angela. That was an amazing walkthrough, which I'm sure got a few gears turning around how to best leverage SUMO events for everyone here. In conclusion, we've covered how organizations like yours can leverage SUMO's event scheduler to simplify your scheduling needs by setting up processes which are customized to your use cases. We hope you found this webinar insightful and that you're excited to explore how SUMO's event scheduler can transform your team's customer engagement dynamics. Remember, our team is here to support you every step of the way. Now, it's time to take action and make the most of what we learned today. To revisit today's content or share it with your team, our webinar videos will be available on multiple platforms, including SUMO Scheduler's YouTube channel, sumoscheduler.com, and our SUMO CEP knowledge base. If you have any questions, need assistance, or encounter any challenges while implementing our solutions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our dedicated support team. We're here to help you succeed. Last, but certainly not least, be sure to join our next webinar. It's an opportunity to deepen your understanding of SUMO's variety of use cases and explore the latest features that streamline the scheduling processes of your organization. Thank you once again for being a part of today's webinar. We look forward to partnering with you on your journey to scheduling success with SUMO Scheduler.